Hey guys, it's me, it's Queen Osset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. Now, if you haven't already, please hit that red subscribe button right down there, and there's a bell right next to it. Click on the bell and hit all so you can get every last notification whenever I upload a video. Likewise, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to someone else who may like it as well. And if you have time, drop us a comment in the comment section. In the background, you're going to hear a lot of rain. There's a thunderstorm going on, so I think it's about to stop though, because it looks like it's slowing down, but you may hear it for a little while. Anyway, let's talk about today's topic because it's a very interesting one. I was talking to someone in the conversation, the question came up, is it okay to date, be with, marry someone who has a mental health issue? So let's say, for example, you found out from your girlfriend or boyfriend that they have bipolar disorder, that they are a narcissist, that they suffer from clinical depression, that they are on anxiety medication. Is it okay to date this type of person? So first and foremost, I have dated someone who had a mental health issue. Voldemort had something. I just don't know what his diagnosis was because he wouldn't tell me. Also, another one of the women that I was with did tell me that they both suffer from bipolar disorder at two different parts of my life. So I've experienced this a few different times. So, and I've talked to some other people about it, and I've read a lot about it as well. So I'm just going to tell you from my personal experience. When you are dating somebody who has a mental health diagnosis, it is not going to be easy. When you're dating somebody that has any kind of illness, they have to make sure that they're treating their illness. So if they are or if they aren't treating it, either way, it's going to be difficult. So the first thing I want to say is go into it with your eyes wide open. It's not a simplistic thing to deal with. And that depends on the level of severity. It depends on if they're taking their medication, if they're doing their treatments properly. Are they being given the right diagnosis, the right dosage of medicine? There are a lot of things to this. And it's very similar to if they had a physical illness, seriously. But the problem is that if you have a mental health issue, it generally affects your relationships because it's going to affect how you fight. It's going to affect what you heard. It's going to affect how you feel sometimes. It's going to affect a number of things. It's going to even affect the lens that you look at things through. If somebody has diabetes, for example, that's not going to be easy either because you're going to have to, they're going to be taking their treatments and doing their thing. And if something happens, like an emergency, like my stepfather would always not take good care of himself. He wasn't even my stepfather. He's my mother's boyfriend. But because they were together so long, I started calling him my stepfather. But my mom's boyfriend did not take good care of his diabetes. He would eat things he wasn't supposed to eat, not take his medicine, and have seizures and pass out. I don't know how many of them he faked because he was the kind of person that did stuff like that. But some of them were real. And my mother, regardless of real or fake, had to go through this situation with him and go to the hospital with him and run behind him and try to cook the right things and deal with all those kind of things. So no matter what the illness is, you're going, as their partner, you are going to have to deal with what's going on. So it's not something that's ever going to be easy. It is going to be some level of work to it. Now, like I said before, if it's a physical health issue, something that does not affect the brain or the emotions, it's not going to affect your relationship and how you relate to each other. But if the person has bipolar disorder or they're a narcissist or something like that, it may very well affect your conversations and how they perceive what you said and all kinds of stuff. and what they accuse you of and how they, you know, respond to you. All those kind of things could be affected. And then remember, I said before, the other question is, are they treating it or not? Because somebody who has clinical depression and they're actually treating the clinical depression is going to be one type of relationship, because you're going to be in a relationship with this person that has this diagnosis or this disorder, and they're going to be treating it, and you're still going to go through ups and downs, and you're going to go through them, you know, dealing with it day to day, you know. But if they're treating it, the idea is that eventually they'll find a treatment that works for them, and it'll be manageable. That's what the doctor calls it, manageable. Now, if this person, like my exes, all three of them, who were not dealing with it, they weren't addressing it, they weren't taking their medication, they weren't going to see their therapist, they had a diagnosis, but they weren't doing anything about their diagnosis. But they were quick to tell you their diagnosis and expect you to treat them a certain kind of way because of the diagnosis, but they weren't quick to deal with the treatment for their diagnosis. So in those cases, it's even more difficult, because a lot of times that means that whatever the disorder or disease is unhinged. My bipolar ex had these, you know, ups and downs that greatly affected the relationship. It ended up being the reason why we broke up, because the ups and downs, when she was up, we were fine. But when she was down, then everything was, you know, doom and gloom. You know, her version or her view of everything, her perspective of everything was doom and gloom. And she refused to get treatment. She refused to take her medicine. She refused to go to the doctor. She would give lip service, and she might go one time, and then she would go right back to the same thing. So time and time again, the relationship was affected by it, and to the point where there wasn't one anymore. The other bipolar ex, it caused her to drink. She was trying to self-medicate. So instead of taking, you know, the medication that might have balanced her chemicals, I don't know, because she didn't try it. It might have worked, it might not have worked. Some people have success with it and some people don't. But she didn't try it all, so I don't know. And she was trying to medicate herself with alcohol, which never works. And our biggest fights were when she was drinking, or because of her drinking, one of the two. Everything else was pretty quiet, but those two things caused us huge issues in our relationship, huge issues. You know, her self-medicating. I remember one of the biggest issues was, if a person is not taking care of themselves, they can end up in bad situations. So if you're bipolar or depressed or something like that, you can end up in bad situations. So because she wasn't taking care of it and she was self-medicating with alcohol, one night she fell asleep on a bench outside of her building in the middle of Brooklyn. Okay, she could have been raped, she could have been killed, you know, anything could have happened to her. And you know, I didn't argue with her about it, but I was very concerned. I mean, we had we had quite the conversations about that. Like, you put yourself in extreme harm's way, and all of this leads back to not dealing with her initial problem, which was the bipolar disorder. So, like I said, it's not going to be easy either way, but if they're not treating it, it can lead to other major issues, such as self-medicating. A lot of times a person, and it depends on what they have too, some of these disorders could make you more impulsive. So this person could find themselves taking risks with their life or with your life. If you're in the car too, or if it's something where you're together, they could be taking unnecessary risks that can get themselves or other people hurt. So many bad things can come from it. And a lot of times you end up walking away from the relationship. So I would say I would not shy away from that kind of a person. If I really was interested in someone, I would not shy away from them, but they would have to be taking care of themselves. If they were not doing their treatment, then I would not get into the relationship. And I would have to see that. I'm not going to fall for that no more, where they just tell me they're taking care of themselves. That's why I slow walk. When I like somebody, I slow walk. I want to see this kind of stuff. I want to see if they have an issue, if they're addressing it. I want to see, you know, because people, like I said, their representative comes to the relationship and tells you anything you want to hear when you first meet a person. But if you hang around just palling around with them for a year and just listening to them and talking to them and being around, you have a chance to see what's really good. Are they really taking their medicine? Are they really going to therapy every Friday? You know, are they really doing what they got to do? Are they really reading their self-help books? Are they really doing their stuff? Because like I said, the representative is going to present the best possible scenario. But if you hang around, that's why I tell you guys about, you know, slow walking, the 90-day rule, you know, don't move too fast. It gives you a chance to really see what's going on with a person and not just what they want to present to you. A person can tell you anything, but what you see, what you witness, what you experience is the real deal. So I would never say no. I wouldn't get involved with somebody that had any kind of illness. If they were blind, if they were deaf, if they had mental health, I wouldn't say that, you know. I would just say it depends on if they were in charge of their life. If they were letting the disease or the disorder take over their life, or if they were managing it. And if they were successfully managing it, even though it's still not going to be easy, I would be open to working through that with them. Because remember, if you get with somebody, you never know what kind of ailment they may develop. I remember this one young lady was telling me she got with this guy and they were in college. And by the time he was 30, he had developed schizophrenia. Apparently it was already present and it didn't show itself, and it came up later and under stress, and some other things happened. And she said overnight he went from being, you know, completely basic, she said, to, you know, doing all of these unusual things. She said he ran out the house naked one day screaming, saying that somebody was after him. You know, and a whole bunch of other crazy stories that she told me that this man went through. Before that, he was 100% basic, like she said. So you never know if the person that you're with is going to develop something. So I wouldn't shy away from it because they had it, but they would have to be managing it. I like that in general. If I'm with somebody and they're accountable for their self, or they're accountable for their life, then I will go 30 rounds with them. But I'm not going nowhere with you if you're not in control of your own, if you're not managing your own stuff. Because if you can't manage your stuff, you damn sure can't manage our stuff. You know? And I'm like, nah, I can be by myself and manage over here. I'm good, you know? If you're coming into my camp, you got to be able to keep up. And that's really the bottom line. So, like I said before, I definitely would not shy away just based on that. But they would have to show me that they were in control. Okay, guys, it's time for me to get going. So if you would like a reading, oh, I have a reading. As a matter of fact, I'm giving $5 off for all readings that are booked by October 26th. So if you want a reading, email me and mention this particular advertisement, and I will give you $5 off your reading. Even if it's not your first one, I'll still give you $5 off. Okay? All right, guys, all of my information is underneath this video. Thank you for coming. Come back soon. I have so much more to tell you about so many more things. Okay, see you later.